Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Reporting. Coming up on today's show, we're going to talk about some silver and black players that could potentially be dealt at the NFL trade deadline. If you do not know, the deadline is Tuesday, November 5th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, which quite frankly, I don't think there's anything going on that day, at least nothing important off the top of my head. We're going to be live at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, so make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you got those notifications turned on, because if the Raiders make a trade, we're going to be live. We're going to be making a video around it. But the way that I'm doing today's show, I'm doing this show a little bit different compared to the way that I've done this show before. So coming up here on the Raiders Report, I got 10 Raiders players. And I'm going to tell you which players that if I was Telesco, if I'm Antonio Pierce, I would shop to try to trade away before the deadline. Or I'm going to talk about players that this team should keep. It's 10 players that continuously get linked to trade rumors, reports, players that do honestly make sense for us to move on from, and some that do not make sense for us to move on from. Let's go to the very first player here that I'm going to discuss. It's Andre James, and if I'm the Raiders, I am putting Andre James on the trade block, and I'm saying, hey, who wants to come shop for our starting center? Because if it's up to me right now, I'm trying to trade Andre James, and if I'm unable to trade him after weeks 8 and after week 9, I'm putting him on the bench. Dylan Parham, JPJ deserve to start at center over Andre James. Whoever doesn't win that battle, you put James over on the bench, and whoever wins that battle between JPJ and Dylan Parham, one guy's at left guard, one guy's at center. Jordan Meredith, I'm putting him at right guard because simply he's a better player. Now, some of you are going to go, well, Mitch, he just signed a 3-year deal worth $24 million. I understand that. And coming up, I'm going to be able to show you the ins and outs of how these certain contracts are going to be able to work. So for a guy like Andre James, he did just sign a 3-year extension this offseason, but he has been awful. He's got a base salary of $4 million this year. So the team owes him, whoever ends up trading for him, $222K a game if he's dealt. And the fact that the Raiders drafted Jackson Powers-Johnson tells me that here's the thing, we're going to have to potentially move on from him at some point. Let's go to another player here. It's Kolton Miller, and this might shock you. I'm going to say it's time to shop Kolton Miller as well. I like Miller. He's a really good dude. I've had the opportunity to meet him a few times, but he does want a new contract. And it's going to be really hard to convince me with a player that has had the injuries that Miller has. Now, if he keeps on playing a lot better, which he's played a little bit better over the past few weeks, but at 30 years old, does anybody here want to give Kolton Miller a brand new contract, a bigger contract? I don't think that the Raiders are going to do that because I would rather allocate my money in some other areas. Is offensive line important? Yes, absolutely. But if I want to draft a quarterback in 2025, can we potentially draft a left tackle in the second round? Or do you just keep rolling with DJ Glaze at right tackle, who is showing you that he can get the job done, but then also you can potentially kick over Theron Munford at left tackle if need be? I think that the highest value trade that the Raiders could get this season out of any player that you're going to see on this show that I'm saying to actually shop is Kolton Miller. And if Kolton Miller means trading away our left tackle this season to potentially get a higher draft pick next year, I'm willing to do it. Let's go to this guy right here, and you probably already know what I'm going to say. Maxx Crosby, we're keeping the Condor. But I feel like I got to keep saying it over and over and over again. The Raiders will not trade Maxx Crosby. Maxx Crosby does not want to be traded. And if you haven't already seen my video that says the Las Vegas Raiders are never going to trade 98, I want you to go check it out. I know people are busy. I know that people don't have time to watch this show all the time. But I have already made an entire video around the fact that the Raiders are not going to trade number 98. They're not going to trade the Condor. But he is one of the top names that continuously gets brought up in trade rumors. So I had to show him at least on today's show. Let's go to the defensive tackle spot, and this one breaks my heart. John Jenkins at defensive tackle. I'm saying that the Raiders need to shop him. If you haven't noticed, I believe that the Raiders are going to be sellers at the deadline. They're not going to be buyers with a 2-5 record. The reason why I am shopping John Jenkins, and losing Jenkins and also losing Christian Wilkins, is a huge kick in the nuts to this defense. No doubt about it. But he is 35 years old. He's going to be a free agent in 2025. And if I'm the Raiders and I know that this season's probably going to be a lost cause, I'm going to start trying to use and see what I got in some of my younger players. I know that the Raiders just moved on from Nesta Jade Silvera, but according to a source to me, Nesta Jade, let's just say, was doing some things inside that locker room that he should not have been doing, which is one of the reasons why he ended up getting the boot. Sure, the Raiders also promoted Zach Carter, who they recently signed, but the Raiders, if you moved on from Jenkins, probably only going to get a 7th-round pick overall. I hate this move, but if I'm thinking long-term, and I know at 35 years old, Jenkins is probably not going to be back next season. So if I can get a 7th-round pick for him, I'm going to try to build up that draft capital. That way this destination spot looks a little bit more appealing. Maybe, I don't know, a Ben Johnson. Let's go to the next name here. It's Jakobi Meyers, and I've seen Myers' name being brought up by ESPN. I've seen Jakobi's name being brought up by Dan Graziano, and I'm saying that the Raiders need to keep Jakobi. He does have one more year after this season remaining on his contract, and Myers is really excited to be a number 1 receiver. If you trade away Jakobi right now, you're legitimately saying that I don't care what this offense looks like, and I don't know if you can truly evaluate what you got in Luke Getsy. I don't know if you can truly evaluate what you got in Desmond Ridder, in Gardner Minshew, which is crazy enough, in Aiden O'Connell. But it's not just that. Jakobi Meyers is the opposite of a diva. Jakobi Meyers is the type of receiver that I think a lot of NFL teams want. A guy that doesn't say a lot, but shows up every single week and gives you 110%. A player that's going to bring that physicality. A player that's not afraid to block. A player that's not going to demand targets, but he is not a great wide receiver 2 option, but he's a good wide receiver 2 to have. He's getting an opportunity to be a number 1. And if I'm going and looking for a quarterback next season, if you don't have Jakobi and you're without Davante, that means you got to figure out a way to go out and get a big-time receiver. Doesn't cost a lot of money. The Raiders still need to get a receiver next season, but at least having Jakobi as your number 2 next year and paying him only about $10 million, which $0 million guaranteed, you can probably restructure that contract a little bit, but the Raiders need to keep Jakobi Meyers. Hey, man, if you haven't seen one of our OGs, Mount Raider Moore, his name is Justin Abjin. He owns his very own plumbing company. It's called Jetstream Plumbing. I have an ask, a favor here from the nation. If you guys could do me a solid, that link is in the comments and description of today's show. It's also in the live chat right now if you're watching this live. I need you guys to leave a 5-star review for Justin Abjin. This guy bangs more than anybody on this show during this season, and he's also trying to help his own company. One initiative that I told my bosses that I want to be able to do, and don't get me wrong, I appreciate a lot of our other sponsors here on the show, but if you guys own a business and you support this channel the way that this guy does, I'm going to put you on this show, and I'm going to send the nation. So if you're somebody who supports your own, if you're somebody that, no matter what, you support Raider Nation, leave a 5-star review for Jetstream Plumbing, and I want to tell you about the company here just a little bit, Chugs. Jetstream team is licensed with 50-plus years of experience and are ready to handle any commercial or residential plumbing job in Boise, Meridian, Eagle, Coonan, Nappen, Middleton, Caldwell, Garden City, Emmett, and the surrounding Treasure Valley. I don't know where that is, but hey, estimates, call 208-400-3353, or you can fill out a contact form. No job is too big or too small. Abjin supports me on this show, and I hope Raider Nation goes leave some 5-star reviews. It's going to take you less than 60 seconds for a guy that always shows love to this channel. Abjin, it's all love. Go support Jetstream Plumbing because it is owned and operated by a Raider fan. Let's keep it moving here on the Raiders trade block. Divine Deablo, I'm saying to shop him. And Divine has done a much better job since coming back from the injury. Fluey says that's in Idaho, Mitch. I appreciate that. Which I knew with Boise. But for Divine Deablo, I'm saying to shop him because you're going to have a tough decision to make at the end of the season no matter what. And because you're going to have that tough decision at the end of the season, sooner or later you're going to have to make a decision on what you want to do with Double D, right? And Divine has been a player that when he was first coming out of Virginia Tech, free safety, they converted him to linebacker. It took a little bit while. Has had a lot of injury concerns out there, but because he's been playing better and he looks a lot faster, he looks a lot quicker, maybe there's a team that's going to give you a 7th-round pick for him. But he's going to be a free agent in 2025. That's on me. Free agent in 2025, not 24. And if the Raiders extend a linebacker, it's not going to be Deablo. It's going to be Robert Spillane. So to me, you can't allow Robert Spillane and Deablo to both hit the open market. You're going to have to pick one. I'm going to pick Spillane every single day of the week and twice on Tuesday. Plus, the Raiders drafted Tommy Eichenberg. So that's another reason why you know Diablo's not going to come back. At least pick up the phone, shop him out there. Who knows? Maybe a team wants to pick up Deablo. Let's go to another player here that's going to be a free agent in 2025. It is Tre'von Moehrig at the safety position. But I'm saying that the Raiders should keep Moehrig. when the Raiders lost Marcus Epps, that just put a whole lot more on Moehrig's plate, and Moehrig has, I think, done a much better job stopping the run, dropping back into coverage. The Raiders ask him to do a lot of different things, and they kind of ask him now to be, that leader in the secondary because it's not going to be Jakobi, and it's not going to be Nate Hobbs, it's not Jack Jones. Marcus Epps wore that C on his chest for a reason. Now the fact that Epps is down, now they're looking at Moehrig. But again, if you know that you're going to have free agents in the offseason, and he's only 25 years old, I'm figuring out a way to bring back Tre'von Moehrig on a contract extension. And quite frankly, there's 7 players that I would say right now are legit extension candidates for the silver and black, and Tre'von Moehrig is up there. I'll tell you this right now. If you're not planning on extending any of these players here, then you should shop them at the NFL trade deadline. If it's up to me, though, the players that I'm going to focus on trying to get a deal done in the offseason with, I want the Raiders to bring back Adam Butler. Quite frankly, like Adam Butler, you can make an argument, might be the #1 priority on this list. That's how good he's played. Nate Hobbs has got to be brought back. Robert Spillane's got to be brought back. Tre'von Moehrig, we got to figure out a way to bring him back. It sucks that you're not going to bring back Koonce, Epps, or Divine, but also, Epps and Koonce are battling with some injuries right now. You either extend these players or you try to trade them. And that's as simple as it is, which is why I'm trying to keep Tre'von Moehrig. I know it's not going to be easy, but the Raiders are projected to have about $108 million in salary cap space. They're projected to have about the 4th most in salary cap space next season. We have the money to extend some of those players, especially since we didn't go out and do it already this year. Let's go to the next player that the Raiders should try to trade away. Gardner Minshew. Maybe you heard of him. I'm at the point right now where I can't afford to watch Minshew play another game for the Las Vegas Raiders because he can't start, and it's not just on Minshew, but we've seen how bad Gardner Minshew is with Luke Getsy behind this offensive line. It's a quarterback that has absolutely no confidence. Also, Aiden's going to be back in 4 to 6 weeks. The Raiders signed Desmond Ridder, and you also have Carter Bradley on the practice squad. Quite frankly, there's no reason to put Minshew out there on the field. And also, when you look at the ins and outs of Minshew's contract, the Raiders, if you're going to pay him $14 million next year, that's your decision. I'm not paying Gardner Minshew $14 million next offseason. So what am I going to do? I'm going to trade him now for literally anything that I can get, and I don't even know if you're going to get anything for him, but I would trade him right now because it saves the Raiders more money in the long run if you trade him this season compared to trying to trade him next offseason, or what I think is probably going to end up happening, the Raiders having to cut Gardner Minshew. So here's a brand new YouTube feature, which I love the fact that they are launching this because I finally get to see y'all stats. We always talk about stats with Brock Bowers, like 47 catches, 477 yards, a touchdown, and 88.3 overall PFF grade. Well, guess what? I don't know if y'all know this. If you're subscribed to this channel, you have stats. Seriously, check this new feature out. When I click on y'all, I can see how many times that you've commented on this show. I can see how many times I've hearted your comment. I can also see when you comment on the video. There is nobody that's commented more on Raiders Report videos than Jaime Alvarado Sr. It's why he's a top commenter. It's why he's got 131 hearts. What about Ron Raspberry? Another one of our top commenters here, 55 hearts. What about Dylan Vasquez? Dylan, get those numbers up a little bit. 15 comments, but you know what? You're still taking time out of your day to hit that subscribe button, to comment on these videos. Mad Vet Raider, I promise y'all this. I am going to start showing a lot more of y'all stats because this is a channel that's built on the backs of Raider Nation. And quite frankly, it's people like Mad Vet. It's people like Ron Raspberry. It's people like Jaime. It's people like all y'all that are watching the show right now that make this thing grow. I'm loud. I know that I'm loud. I know Chugs and I together are pretty loud. But when we get all of us together, man, there's nobody louder than Raider Nation. So I want to be able to show you guys these new stats. So if you want to get those numbers up, hey, man, keep commenting, keep commenting, keep commenting. Let's go to the next player. It's Nate Hobbs, and I'm saying that the Raiders need to keep him as well. I don't think that this is going to be a player that gets the franchise tag. Somebody asked me that a few days ago, and I said no because he's a slot corner, and paying a franchise tag corner means you're going to pay him like an outside guy when the Raiders are going to try to pay him as an inside corner. I'll admit you should still try to maybe pay him a little bit more than what some slot corners get because of his versatility. You can line him up at safety. You can line him up at outside corner. But I want to keep Nate Hobbs because I want Nate Hobbs to be a part of this team, young player that does the right things. Let's go to then the final guy on this list. It's Dylan Parham, and this is somebody who I know has been battling some injuries, but overall, I want him to be a part of this franchise for a long time. And I know that this is a Josh McDaniels guy, but when you have an offensive lineman that has the versatility that Parham does and legitimately can play every single spot on the offensive line, probably outside of left tackle, that deserves a lot of recognition. I also want the Raiders to move on from Andre James. So that means you got Dylan Parham, Jackson Powers-Johnson. That's a good interior that you can roll with this year and you can roll with in the future. I know that Parham at times maybe has been benched, and I'll be real, I don't know if he's in the best light with the Raiders because they brought in, Cody Whitehair. There was some rumors that I've heard that I'm not going to bring up right now around the coaching staff and Parham. But, if there's no beef there, then you got to figure out a way to keep him, and I hope that you're able to keep him happy for a few years down the road. But Parham is a player because of his status, I guess, with Josh McDaniels. I'll also say that there is one NFL team that I know for a fact that has called the Raiders about Dylan Parham because they're in desperate need of a guard. So if the Raiders can hold off on that, if the price tag's really good, though, I would trade Parham right now for I would want a 4th-round pick back, which you're probably not going to get. So maybe a 5th-round pick. 4th or 5th is what I would expect from Parham. And if it's anything less than that, then I don't want to trade him, man. So one more time here are the Raiders on the trade block. I'm shopping Andre James, Kolton Miller, John Jenkins. I'm shopping Divine Deablo, Gardner Minshew, but I'm keeping Tre'von Moehrig. I'm keeping Nate Hobbs, Dylan Parham, Maxx Crosby, and Jakobi Meyers. If you enjoyed today's show and you made it this far in the vid, seriously, hit that like button. Believe it or not, I would like to see that people enjoyed this little bit of a different style of video that I've done in years past. If you're also not planning on joining me when we go live for Thursday Night Football, what the hell are you waiting for? One guy who I know is going to be here, Justin Avgin. He's been the MVP, I want to say, for 3 straight weeks on Thursday Night Football. He's a diehard Dodgers fan. For those who don't know, I'm a diehard Mets fan. And he said that if the Dodgers win, he's going to make me dress up as Mookie Betts in a Dodgers hat. That one's going to be a little bit painful, I'm not going to lie. So if you want to see me in pain, tune in Thursday night, hit that subscribe button, and seriously, go leave a 5-star review for Avgin. That guy does a lot for this channel.